In yesterday's class, we understood the first shlok and started reading the second shlok. If there are any question regarding the first shlok, we can discuss those first of all. Anyone has to ask anything?
Ji Raja, I have a question.
Yes.
So yesterday you had explained that Sri Mahaprabhuji had dedicated Siddhantmuktavali to Achyut Das Sanodhya. So I just wanted to ask that since Achyut Das Sanodhya wasn't actually able to perform like bhakti or devotion of Shri Krishna because this is supposed to be done in one's own home, and he had already left his home. So basically, Achyut Das attained the stage of Mansi just by understanding the principles of Pushti Bhakti Marg that Sri Mahaprabhuji wrote in Siddhantmuktavali. So is that right or is that wrong?
No. Mahaprabhuji provided him his charanodak, the sacred dust from his lotus feet, and as with the blessings of Sri Mahaprabhuji, he attained the condition of Manasi. Though it was important for him to understand the concept of our sampradaya, therefore Mahaprabhuji explained him Siddhantmuktavali.
Okay, Ji Raja. So he used the charanodak to attain the stage of Mansi.
Yes, it was by the grace of Sri Mahaprabhuji. It happened with the grace of Sri Mahaprabhuji.
Okay, Ji Raja, I understand now.
If we go through his life story, we can understand very well that since his childhood he was a devotee of Sri Krishna, and he was completely dedicated towards Sri Krishna. Otherwise, who leaves his house at the age of 6-7 years? It is not possible for a normal human being like us. So he was already blessed, but Bhagavan wanted him to attain him via Sri Mahaprabhuji only. Or because of Sri Mahaprabhuji and his blessings, he was able to attain the devotion of Sri Krishna when he met Mahaprabhuji, and therefore this is how it happened. So Bhagavan decides the medium and the process by which a devotee can be concentrated in Bhagavan or can develop the devotion in Bhagavan. So in spite of being destined, there are some particular moments when a being realizes that he is a devotee of Shri Krishna, or he wants to have the devotion of Shri Krishna as the fruit. So that's what happened with Achyut Das. Otherwise, he wanted to attain Shri Krishna, and he was trying to do the same since he was 5-6 years old. Otherwise, he would have returned home with his parents, but he didn't go.
Okay, Ji Raja. I just wanted to clarify because I was confused about that part, but now I understand.
Anyone else? Fine. So in the first shlok, we understood that Sri Mahaprabhuji introduced the principle of seva by saying that Shri Krishna is supposed to be worshipped by a Pushti being forever, and being attached to Shri Krishna or mental engrossment in the lotus feet of Shri Krishna is considered as the superior most condition in devotion. So after Mahaprabhuji explained the concept of seva. Now what is seva? So Mahaprabhuji is defining the concept of seva in this second shlok by saying that worship is, what is worship, what is devotion? So minds being completely intent in Shri Krishna is known as worship or devotion. Chetastat pramanam seva. The first part of the shlok is the definition of the concept of seva. which means that when our mind is engrossed in Shri Krishna, condition is known as seva. Now how does that happen? For example, right now I am saying that even I am performing service of Shri Krishna, I am performing seva of Shri Krishna, but my mind is not engrossed in Krishna, then what I am doing? Or for example, we cannot engross our mind in Shri Krishna all of a sudden or within a day. Then how to reach that condition? How to Krishna? And what's the purpose? Says that for accomplishing that particular condition, one must perform the service of Shri Krishna body. Are you not able to hear me?
Your voice is like coming in and out.
Oh. Is that fine now?
Ji Raja.
Okay. Yeah. So Mahaprabhuji defined the concept of seva by saying that engrossment of our mind in the lotus feet of Shri Krishna is known as seva. Now how to reach that condition, how to engross our mind in Shri Krishna? So Mahaprabhuji is explaining the process that for accomplishing that condition or for being in that condition, one must perform the service of Shri Krishna using his own body and all his possessions. And at the end, a being can be concentrated in Shri Krishna, and along with that main fruit, a being becomes free from the worldly sufferings and miseries, as well as he attains the Brahma. And these two are the fruits which are attained Manase. Now Mahaprabhuji is explaining the concept that to engross one is known as seva or service, and the way concentration is needed, while when we thread a needle, at that time we need to be concentrated in that. We are not supposed to think about anything else. Same way, when a being is in the seva or when the being is living, he has to be completely concentrated in Shri Krishna. As we understood through the example of Vrajbhaktas in the last slok yesterday, that they were so much concentrated in Shri Krishna that in spite of being occupied in their day-to-day activities, their mind was in Shri Krishna. They were not thinking about anything else other than Shri Krishna. That's what concentration means. So hence for a Pushtipath Vaishnav devotees, performing seva or service of Shri Krishna is like a yoga. So as in the definition of Ashtanga Yoga, we understood that Dhyana, Dharana and Samadhi, these were the last three stages of Yoga Marg. So there we understood that Dhyana and Dharana means that a being is supposed to be concentrated in Jivatma, in our own Atma. Sort of concentration is supposed to be developed. Now in that condition, a being cannot think about anything else other than the Jivatma, and that sort of dedication or that sort of condition in which a being is completely concentrated is known as Samadhi. So Samadhi and Dharana are the conditions which are explained in Yoga Marga by saying that the Atma, I mean the being, and the material on which a being is concentrating becomes one. They don't remain distinct. As I had given the example of Vrajbhaktas, that when they were having Maharas with Shri Krishna, at that time they were so much concentrated in Shri Krishna that Bhagavan didn't attain many forms, but they were not able to see anything else other than Shri Krishna, and therefore they were watching each other as Shri Krishna. They were not able to think about anything else other than Shri Krishna. So that's what concentration means, that a being remains so much engrossed in the service of Shri Krishna that he is not able to think about anything else. And that sort of concentration is the superior most condition for a Pushti devotee. So if we are able to develop such a concentration in Shri Krishna that we are not able to think about anything else, then that is the superior most condition. There is one more story about Narad. Naradji is considered as the best devotee of Shri Krishna because he remains speaking the name of Shri Krishna all the time. So once Naradji visited Shri Thakurji being in Vaikuntha, and at that time Naradji told Bhagavan that I am your best devotee, and show me a better devotee who is superior to me, who is worshipping you in a much more nicer way. So Bhagavan told Naradji to visit earth in this Prithvi Lok with him. So Bhagavan and Naradji came here, and Bhagavan reached the earth with Naradji and gave him a pot which was filled of oil and said that take this on your head and start your parikrama around the mountain, around a particular mountain. Start taking rounds around that mountain. So Naradji started doing so. Bhagavan said that don't let the oil come out of the pot. It was completely filled up with the oil. So Naradji started doing so as per the orders of Bhagavan. And when he completed his work, he completed his parikrama, he came near Bhagavan. So Bhagavan asked him that how many times you remembered me while taking the rounds of that mountain. So Naradji says that I was so much mentally occupied because I had to take care that oil must not come out of the pot. Therefore, I was not able to think about you at all. I was completely concentrated in taking care of the oil. So Bhagavan said that okay, and then Bhagavan took him in a farm, was taking the name of Bhagavan and was occupied in his day-to-day activity. So Bhagavan said that he is my best devotee, because when we are free, anyone can think about Bhagavan. But in spite of being occupied in many more activities, if a person can be concentrated in Bhagavan, if a person can think about Bhagavan, then that's what concentration means. So being idle in one particular condition and then thinking about Bhagavan or taking the name of Bhagavan is not great. It is not a greater condition. But in spite of being occupied in all the other activities, if we can think of Bhagavan, then that's what concentration means, or that's what devotion means. So this is what happened with Vraj devotees, that they were females, they had to work at their own house, they had to be with their families, their husband and kids and other activities, but still they had their complete concentration in Bhagavan. They were not thinking about anything else. That's what devotion means. And that sort of devotion, that sort of concentration in Bhagavan is expected in Pushti Marg, and that is the superior most condition in devotion. So here Sri Mahaprabhuji is explaining the same thing, that the way concentration is needed is like a yoga. So as a yogi concentrates himself in his Atma and in the condition of Samadhi, he is not aware about any damn thing which is happening around him and is so much concentrated that it doesn't even matter to him that what is happening around. For example, in the story of Valmiki, the sage who wrote Ramayana, it is said that Naradji told him to concentrate upon the name of Sri Ram. So he was going on chanting the name of Sri Ram, and at that time the ants made their house on the body of Valmiki, and in spite of that happening, he didn't lose his concentration. He was continuously taking the name of Sri Ram, that much concentrated he was. And then ultimately, after he attained the condition of Samadhi, in which the whole Ramayana appeared to him, after attaining that condition, he came out of that samadhi and removed the house of the ants from his own body and came out of it. So this is what is concentration is, that it is not so that a person is supposed to be leave the house, he has to leave everything around, he has to leave his duties and must migrate to the jungle and start performing penance there. This is not what devotion is. Devotion is that a person can remain occupied in all his regular activities but still be mentally engrossed in Bhagavan. That's what Srila Prabhuji means. So this sort of condition, this Manasi Seva, this mental service itself is a fruit in Pushti Marg. It is the most superior, most condition in Pushti Sampradaya. So how to achieve this stage? Because this doesn't happen all of a sudden or in a day. So what should be done? So Mahaprabhuji is explaining the way. Tat Siddhyai Tanuvittaja. It means that condition can be attained by performing Tanuvittaja Seva. Tanuvittaja Seva is composed of two terms, Tanuja Seva and Vittaja Seva. Tanuja, Tan means our body and Vitta means our possessions or money. Whatever we own, whatever we possess in the form of objects, materials, family, etc. is known as Vittaja. So by performing the service using our own body and our own possessions, a person can accomplish the condition of mindful service or Manasi Seva. And by performing this mindful service and bodily service, being becomes free from all the worldly sufferings which is filled with egoism and attachment, and ultimately the avidya, which is consisting of I-ness and minus, gets destroyed. So this is a whole process which a Pushti being is supposed to perform. Why Mahaprabhuji is asking us to dedicate our Tanuja and Vittaja? So the reason is that our I-ness lies in our own body, because we consider our body to be us, and our minus lies in the objects we possess or the family we possess or the materials we possess. So if a person dedicates his own body and his own possessions, the I-ness and minus, where the avidya stays, where the avidya lies, gets attached to Shri Krishna, and therefore ultimately the being can be free from the bondages of avidya or can attach his avidya in Shri Krishna, which leads our mind to be in the lotus feet of Krishna, because our mind remains concentrated in our I-ness and minus, because our mind remains in our body and the objects we possess. So ultimately, by performing Tanuvittaja Seva, a person can attain that superior most condition. Now, during the way or by attaining the mindful service, a being attains two more fruits, which are Sansara Dukkha Nivritti and Brahma Bodh. So Sansara Dukkha Nivritti means that wherever we are concentrated, we feel happiness or sorrows from that particular medium. For example, a kid, if he falls down while playing and he gets some injury on his body, if we ignore him, if we don't consider his condition at that time, after some moments, in spite of being injured, he will forget that. And if we start concentrating upon him, if we start pampering him in that particular condition, the kids start feeling being attached, and therefore ultimately he will be concentrated upon the injury and will start crying. If we ignore his injury at that particular moment for some time and make him occupied in some other activity, then that kid will forget everything, whatever happened. So wherever we are concentrated, whatever we are thinking about, we start feeling happiness and sorrow from that place. So if we have diverted our mind from the worldly objects and are concentrated upon Shri Krishna, then our mind also starts thinking about Krishna, and therefore ultimately we won't feel any sort of happiness and sorrow from worldly objects. And this is how we become free from the attachments of worldly objects. We stop feeling any sort of sorrows from whatever is happening around us. A person become careless about whatever is happening. As in the story of Vraj devotees, in Bhagavat, it is said that when Bhagavan used to play the flute, the Vraj devotees felt so much attached towards the Sri Krishna that they would leave their home in whatever condition they would be. Even at the night, even at the forenight, they used to come out of their house and wanted to be around Bhagavan. So when Bhagavan played the flute at midnight and Vraj devotees came near Bhagavan, Bhagavan told them that it is not good for you to be here at this moment, because all of you are females and your family members won't like that the females are outside their house at midnight. So when Bhagavan said so, Vraj devotees were angry with Bhagavan and they said that we will not go anywhere, we don't care whatever happens. So that sort of carelessness they attained as a result of the devotion or the mindful service. So it is not so that things will stop happening. Everything has to happen around us the way it used to. But just because of not being concentrated upon the worldly happenings, a being becomes free from those bondages and will stop feeling any sort of happiness and sorrow from there. For example, in the case of that Vaishnav, the devotee of Sri Mahaprabhuji as well, it is said that she lost her 2 kids at a very small age, so she was going on crying. So everyone felt that it is natural. She is a mother, she lost her kids, so it is quite natural that she is sorrowful about that condition. So they told Shri Gosainji, Shri Vithalnathji that please console her, she control herself. So at that time it's okay, whatever happens around us happens with the according to the desire of Bhagavan only. So stop being very sad about that. So listening to Bhagavan's Gosainji's words, the Kshatrani, the Vaishnava devotee, said that I am not sad that I lost my children. I am sad because there would be no one for playing with Bhagavan, because my kids used to play with Bhagavan, and therefore even Shri Krishna at my own house used to enjoy their company. So I am very sad about that I don't have those kids who used to play with Bhagavan. So that's what here Mahaprabhu means is that a being has to be concentrated in Bhagavan all the time, and if he is not able to be concentrated in Bhagavan, then he will feel all the happiness and sorrows which is as a result of the worldly happenings. But once you are concentrated in Krishna, once your mind is engrossed in Krishna, in spite of all the happenings around, a being will be careless about those and will stop feeling anything regarding that. Let that happen and the being will be occupied in the mindful service of Shri Krishna. But this condition is attained only when we start performing service of Shri Krishna in our own house, using our own body, mind, our money, our possessions, our family members, and whatever sort of material we own. But everything has to be of our own ownership. Nothing is supposed to be taken from anyone else. So in the commentary of Siddhantmuktavali, the commentary of this shlok, Shri Vithalnathji, Shri Gosainji is explaining that why Mahaprabhuji has used the single term Tanu Vittaja. He is not using 2 distinct terms Tanuja and Vittaja. Why so? So Shri Gosainji is explaining the reason that because we are not supposed to split these terms. When Tanuja and Vittaja, if we split these terms, then the concept of devotion will break down. You cannot fulfill the purpose of devotion. Because for example, I am serving Shri Krishna with my body, but I am taking money from someone else for doing so. Or someone is sponsoring my seva in clear terms. Other condition is that, for example, if a person is not able to use his body in the service of Shri Krishna and he is just providing the money and someone else is performing that seva on the behalf of me, then in both these conditions a being cannot be concentrated in Bhagavan. What's the reason? So Mahaprabhuji says that this sort of splitted concept is not possible because our mind becomes diverted. Where will our mind go? Behind the body or behind the money? When we are using body and money both in the service of Shri Krishna, at that time our body remains, our mind remains engrossed in Bhagavan. But money belongs to someone else and body belongs to someone else. In that condition, the service is not possible. A person cannot perform the mindful service. His mind becomes diverted and therefore his mind cannot be engrossed in Bhagavan at all. That's why it is very important to perform Tanu Vittaja Seva all together. It means everything is supposed to be of our own ownership. Even the house is supposed to be our own. The Vigraha, the Swarup of Shri Krishna is supposed to be our own. The money which we are using, the objects which we are using for the service of Shri Krishna, even that is supposed to be of our own ownership. And the family members, the possessions, the materials which we are using, even we need to own everything, and everything has to be done with the objects of our own ownership, and that's how the mindful service is attained. The result is attained and our mind becomes completely engrossed and concentrated in Shri Krishna. So this is the concept of seva as per the principle of Shri Mahaprabhuji, which is explained here in the second shlok. If there are any more questions regarding this, we'll be discussing those in the next class. For now, we are concluding today's session here.
Ji Raja,